Almost a year ago, I had this brilliant idea that Andy and I should run a half marathon. What a great way to motivate ourselves, to get into shape, and even possibly stay in shape, right? I knew Disney had marathon weekends at all their parks across the world, so I started researching and looking for videos on what it's like, what to expect, and how it all works. To my surprise, there are not a ton of videos on the subject, and when you do find videos, it's more vlog style, and they don't really go into what to actually expect in a step-by-step way. So we went in blind. For someone like me with anxiety, this is not the best approach. I like to know exactly what's going to happen. So I figured I would make an ultimate guide to the Disney World marathons to help you decide if it's right for you and to prepare yourself as best as possible. Keep in mind, we participate in the main Disney World marathon weekend, but all Disney World races are pretty similar. So even if you're running in, let's say, the Princess Half Marathon in February, this video will still give you good information to know. Stick around until the end because I'm going to give you my brutally honest review of the weekend and let you know if I would recommend participating. If you find any of the info in this video useful, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It's totally free and you won't miss my upcoming videos, including the opening of Universal's Epic Universe in Orlando. Also, if you are participating in a Disney marathon and want to save money on park tickets, check out my link below for Undercover Tourist. It's cheaper than buying directly through Disney, and they're amazing to deal with. So first, let's discuss booking the weekend. For the marathon weekend in January, there are 4 race options: the 5K, the 10K, half marathon, and full marathon. You can also decide to do a challenge. There are 2 challenges, the Goofy Challenge and the Dopey Challenge. Goofy is where you sign up and complete the half and full marathon, whereas Dopey is where you do all 4 races. Yes, people like this exist, and no, they are not human.
What do you think, you're better than me?
Keep in mind that all other race weekends at Walt Disney World do not have full marathons. If you want to do the full thing, you must sign up for the weekend in January. Races typically go on sale approximately 8 months prior, but stay up to date on the Run Disney website, which I'll link below. The 5K and 10K sell out quickest. By the time we got in, after a couple of hours of waiting, they were already sold out. The costs of the races and challenges vary and increase each year, but on the screen I put up a list of costs for our marathon weekend versus the upcoming Princess Marathon weekend, so you can at least get an idea of how much you'll need to shell out. To be honest, it seemed really expensive to us to put ourselves through torture until we arrived and saw the sheer amount of work and organization that goes into making these events. We're actually convinced Disney doesn't make any profit from the races, but they do get more guests to the park spending money during slower periods. Now, these races are very popular, so be warned, you will need to wait in a virtual queue potentially for a long time. A good idea is to have the website up on multiple devices because entry is random. Be prepared to answer what you think your estimated time for completing the race will be. This is important as it dictates which group you'll be in on race day. The quicker you think you'll be able to complete it, the earlier your time will be. Training. Regardless of the length of your race, you are encouraged to train. There are tons of free materials out there on YouTube, and there are even free apps like Nike Run Club that have different training programs, which is what I used personally. But the real question people always ask is, do I need to train? That is a very personal question. It depends on your athletic ability, age, health, etc. You should really talk to your doctor before signing up for any race. Our race was in January 2025, and Andy and I started training before our Japan trip in September 2024. We ran 1 to 2 times per week up until December. This is when it started to get too cold to run outside. Then the holidays happened and we both became very ill for 2 weeks before the event. It actually lasted up until the race, and it made things quite challenging for us. So is it possible to do the race without training? Yes. Should you do it? No. Packing. I'm not going to go through everything you need to pack for your Disney World trip, but here are a few things you should consider taking with you for the race. Number 1 is an emergency blanket. Sounds weird, right? Believe it or not, it gets cold in Florida in the early mornings, especially if you're there in January. It was 46 degrees the morning of our race. You'll also want to take some lightweight sunglasses designed for running because the sun will eventually come out. You may also want to bring some energy packets or chews. They do have some on the course, but it's not until the second half of the race. And I think most importantly, you want to bring a running belt or an armband to carry your phone and headphones. I'll link the running belt I used in the description box below. It's a bit more on the expensive side, but it's totally worth it. Where to stay? I always say choosing where to stay is a personal choice, but I do want to make you aware of the perks of staying on Disney property. Number 1, they have free transportation to and from the race as well as the convention at ESPN Wide World of Sports. Number 2, when you wake up in the early morning, you won't have to worry about Ubers or Lyfts, which can be difficult to book at those times. Number 3, if you stay at one of the resorts on the monorail line, you can take the monorail to Epcot the morning of your race, cutting down on time. It was very nice to take the monorail over a bus, something I didn't even consider before we booked. You also go through security before getting on the monorail, meaning you don't have to do it when you arrive at Epcot on race day. And number 4, as always, they treat you really well. We received a welcome letter plus buttons that said Marathon Weekend 2025 on them from the staff at Grand Floridian. It wasn't a huge gift, but it was a very nice and sweet surprise. Picking up your bib and clothing. In order to participate in the race, every runner must have a bib. Basically, this is a large sheet of paper with your name on it and your participant number. It's also equipped with an RFID chip, which makes it possible to track your time and link your PhotoPass photos to your My Disney account. More on that later. Everything you need to pick up for your race is at the ESPN area, and there is free transportation to and from the Disney resorts on a coach bus. Basically, if you're staying on property, ask the staff where the expo buses are. They're different from the buses that take you to the parks. Disney hires a third-party company that picks everyone up in a very comfortable coach. The first bus starts 30 minutes prior to the event opening, which is usually 12 p.m., but please check your schedules. It could and probably will change in the future. The bib pickup is at State Farm Fieldhouse. Simply follow the signs. It's very well organized. You must pick up your bib at least one day prior to your race. You must have a valid photo ID, and you must have filled out the online waiver form that they send you and show proof of it. If you don't fill out your waiver ahead of time, you will be asked to fill out a physical form on site. They will provide you with your bib as well as a pack of safety pins to attach to your outfit. Here, there is also an area where you can line up to meet characters and a separate area with photo ops. You will then pick up your race shirt and gear bag at the Athletic Center, which is kitty corner to the State Farm Fieldhouse. Again, there is plenty of signage and cast members to help. Now let's talk about the expo. The expo is actually located where you pick up your race shirt at the Athletic Center. There are plenty of booths to visit, most of which are geared toward running. You'll also find vendors giving out samples and lots of free Run Disney items like stickers and temporary tattoos. You'll also be able to view all the medals, and luckily, in my opinion anyway, we got the best medal. If you forgot anything at home you need for the race, the expo is a great place to grab a replacement. There's plenty of food and drink options on the second floor of the Athletic Center. We didn't eat any of it, but it smelled amazing. Now that you've visited the expo, it's time to check out the official merch. This is located in a completely different building called the Advent Health Arena. This building is located at the front of the ESPN area, and again, there's plenty of signage. Here you will find Spirit jerseys, pins, running gear, hats, and a lot more. If you're invested in getting a lot of the merch, I would highly recommend going on the first day if possible. We were there on the second to last day, and a lot of the merch was already sold out. If the line is long, keep in mind you are able to mobile checkout. Don't forget to apply any discounts you have like annual pass holder or Disney Vacation Club. There are some photo ops here as well, but no character meet and greets. Pre-race. The moment is here, it's race day. You are probably very anxious and nervous, especially if it's your first time. It's completely normal. We were super nervous. Races begin very early in the morning. I'm not going to give specific times here because it will vary on how long your race is, the time of year, etc. just make sure you are checking your schedule. They recommend getting there at least 1 hour before the race begins. Our race started at 5 a.m., but we were in one of the last groups, so we didn't need to get there as early. Use your best judgment. If you are super nervous, it's better to just get there, walk around, and take in the energy. A question I had that I couldn't really find an answer for: can you bring stuff and check it during the race? For example, if you brought a jacket but didn't want to run with it, could you check it? The answer is yes, but with a caveat. When you pick up your race shirt at the ESPN area, you'll also be given a clear Run Disney bag. Your items must be stored in this bag on race day if you wish to check them. Most of the Disney World races start and end at Epcot. Once you're in Epcot, you'll follow signage to the race corrals. There are tons of porta potties, merchandise tents, food and drink for sale, and cast members. There's also water stations for you to hydrate. There's a stage with hosts who are keeping the energy up while you wait. Don't worry about seeing the stage, as they have giant screens put up for you as well. They even have characters coming out on stage to pump you up. Once you've gone to the washroom, hydrated, etc., you'll want to find your corral, which is where you'll wait for your race time. There are usually 7 groups, A through G, and your bib will have your group on it. There will be lots of people around you, but in my opinion, it never felt crowded. And when it's finally your turn, you'll be stationed in front of the starting line. They will give you a 30-second warning and then count you down from 3. Fireworks will go off and it's time to start running. Now for the actual race. The race itself is super fun and unlike any other race. You get to meet and interact with characters, but keep in mind it's a very fast interaction and photo, plus you'll need to wait in long lines, which could hinder your completion time. There's music, DJs, and characters pretty early on. At first, there's lots of space to run free of people. However, once you get to the off-ramps, it becomes very congested. So you'll need to be patient. Make sure you're signaling when you're about to slow down so that nobody runs into you. The proper way to signal is to raise your hand up and then start to slow down. There are mile markers along the way and you should absolutely take your photo with them. There will be tons of people to entertain you, cheer you on, hand you water, Gatorade, and at one point they were even handing out energy chews, which was a nice surprise. There are also plenty of medical stations along the way. You may hear people talking about the balloon ladies. These are Run Disney volunteers who leave last and walk at a 16-mile pace. Their purpose is to encourage people in front of them to finish the race, but if the balloon ladies pass you, you will unfortunately be swept. Being swept means you are not going to finish the race in the allotted time. The permits for road closures and the parks only last so long, so they need to ensure everyone is done by a certain time. You will be loaded into a bus and driven to the finish line to collect your medal, food, etc. Apparently, this is not demeaning like it sounds, and people describe it as a pleasant experience. If you can't finish the race for whatever reason, do not feel ashamed. The point is you tried, and most people don't try at all. If you're in the full marathon, you'll run through all 4 of the parks. If you're in the half marathon, you'll run through Magic Kingdom and Epcot. If you're in the 10K, you'll run through and around the Epcot area. And if you're in the 5K, you'll run through Epcot parking lot and World Showcase. Running through the parks is the best part of the experience. They even have family, friends, and cast members cheering you on. When we got to the end of our race in Epcot, we ran right by people who were there for rope drop and they cheered us on as well. You'll also find PhotoPass photographer stations in the parks and at the finish line. They are in bright green outfits and will have bright green tents with them. If there is someone right in front of you, make sure to slow down a bit so the photographer can capture you. I chose to look right at the camera and slow down so the pictures came out better. And yes, we are too cheap to pay that ridiculous price tag to buy these photos, hence the watermarks. They charge $100. There are times during the race that were not so pleasant, most notably over by the Polynesian. This is because they were still doing a ton of construction over there, it was muddy, and there was basically no light. Then the pathway to Magic Kingdom from the Grand Floridian was also challenging because it was so narrow. It was very hard to get through and we just had to submit and walk. What was really cool is they had the electrical water pageant next to the pathway. A very nice touch they didn't have to do, but we appreciated it. Okay, now it's time for the post-race. At the finish line, you'll see characters cheering you on. When we crossed, it was Minnie Mouse, but I'm sure this varies based on which race you're in and the timing. Once you cross, you will feel like $1 million. Not gonna lie, I got a bit teary-eyed. It's an accomplishment no matter how fast or slow you complete it. Not many people run or participate in any races, so take the moment in and feel proud. The finish line is very organized. You'll be handed your medal first, followed by your Run Disney snack box, and then a bottle of water or Gatorade. You'll then have a chance to grab anything you might have checked before the race, and finally you'll get to the buses, which will bring you back to your hotel if you're staying on Disney property. There are tons of cast members who will tell you which bus goes where. And that's it. You've completed your race and you survived to talk about it. Now here's a quick review of the race. If you're a beginner runner or not a runner at all, this is perfect for you. There is no pressure to run fast or even run at all really. You could power walk the entire race if you wanted. However, if you're a serious runner, you may want to give this one a skip. There's plenty of areas where you'll get bottlenecked and where you may even have to walk. Plus, you're likely serious about your time, meaning you can't stop to enjoy characters, take photos, or even go on rides. And yes, if you run in the full marathon, you can hop on the rides. That said, it's super fun to be at the parks with folks like you wearing your medals around and congratulating each other. Like most events put on by Disney, it's well organized, fun, and energetic. I would highly recommend signing up for a race if you're at all interested. Don't be stressed and anxious like I was. Now that you have all the information and know step by step what it's like to run in the race, you'll have a fantastic time and you'll feel a major sense of accomplishment. Do you have any questions about Run Disney or the marathon events? Let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer all of them. And with that, I'll see you on the next one. Bye!